Bake sales. 6 days. 6 days to D-Day. And by the way, the Jets showed up today. Congratulations. The New York Jets have showed up today for the start of training camp. And make no mistake about it, fantastic stuff as always. And that is awesome. Awesome. 6 days away. And I was just talking to Tone here. Good afternoon to everybody in here too, by the way. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard. We were just talking. Commanders selling the team. You got the Giants with Barkley. Now you got the Cowboys with Zach Martin. This is so set up for Philly. Fantastic. No noise. Look at the contract that got done for Jalen Hurts, the restructuring of deals. It was as quiet as a church mouse. They did their business so quiet in the offseason that the only thing that made people kind of look their, kind of look up a little bit was really Matt Patricia. Why? That's been the only thing, man. That's been the only thing. And quite frankly, when you look at the other teams in the NFC East and you put that compared next to that, you go like this, man, nothing. Awesome. The teams that make the loudest noise in the room are usually the weakest teams in the room. Do you understand that? That's why I always push that. If you're making a lot of noise and you're talking about whatever, you're usually the weakest person in the room. And that's what you have when people are barking so much in the offseason here. Fantastic, man. How about this? The NFC East has so much drama in it right now. Great for me, content. Great for the Eagles because the Eagles are focused on winning a championship. Again, it's kudos to the front office. And we're going to look at the front office today. And we're going to go deep into the front office today and how they've built this football team since Howie's come out of the broom closet. But I do want to start this off. Did you see that most asinine statement from a running back in the NFL today? Austin Eckler. Someone better tell these running backs who they are. You're less than kickers now. Okay? He demands answers from NFL owners. Son, they're trying to exterminate you. They're trying to exterminate the position. They're telling you who you are. And you got a running back with one of the cheapest owners in the NFL, demanding that he hear from owners why the pay scale has gone down for running backs. Son, the average pay for a running back in the NFL is $1.8 million. Do you know for a kicker it's 2.26? They're telling you flat out, you're less valued than a kicker, who I say is not even a football player. You're being told you're less than a kicker. By the way, Merrill Reese will join us. He'll join us at 5:30 Eastern. A kicker. Kickers average more money than running backs. Okay? They're telling you, these guys are not going to get their money. You're not going to get your money. The position is being devalued. Go understand that. If you understand how the league sees you, you know what's funny? Coaches, hey, I tell you what I think the problem really is. Here's what the problem really is when it comes to when it comes to the running back position. Coaches value the running back position. They value it. Owners and front office people don't, because they think they can find another one of you. Okay? They think they can find another one of you. Okay. Update. Saquon Barkley explains his leverage on the Giants. FU. My leverage is I could say FU to the Giants. I could say FU to my teammates and be like, you want me to show you my worth? You want me to show you how valuable I am to the NFL? I won't show up. I won't play it down. And that's a play I could use. I'm going to have to take that. I wouldn't, if I heard that and I was the New York Giants, I would sign Dalvin Cook. I would sign Dalvin Cook by the time I got done reading it. I would sign Dalvin Cook right now. You don't have a second of leverage because the Giants with you, and by the way, we're looking at the Giants today. The next opponent on the schedule for the Eagles. We're looking at the Giants. They're not going to go anywhere with you or without you. Why would I pay you $15 million? You're not that essential to building a championship team. Running backs like him don't win championships. They don't. They're a non-factor. They are the least factored position in the NFL. Howie's right. Best by committee. He's right in the end. You don't have to have a feature back. They get you nowhere. Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, all the big backs in the NFL. You see, what he's trying to do is think he's Emmitt Smith. Emmitt held out for those 2 games against the Cowboys, or for the Cowboys, and held out. I think it was 3 games, actually. They went 0-3. Well, Emmitt was the engine on that team. It wasn't Troy, and it wasn't Michael Irvin. Emmitt was the engine. Emmitt had leverage. And then when it went 0-3, they went on to win a Super Bowl that year. The Cowboys went on to win a Super Bowl starting out 0-3 when Emmitt wasn't in the building. Okay? It's a different NFL today. It's a completely different NFL than when Emmitt played in the game where you had leverage in the sport where they built teams around running games. The Eagles build a team. Get this. Look at how the Eagles do it. The Eagles would rather spend $15 million in a guard than $15 million in a back because they get more value out of the guard. Do you understand that? The guard protects the quarterback and is essential in the run game. Whomever's running the ball. Kenneth Gainwell, Boston, doesn't really matter. Pacheco. You're not going to see star players back there running the ball anymore, making big money. This is what's happened. I told you yesterday this. Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott killed the financial status of the NFL running back. When clubs saw how fast those guys fell off the cliff and how devalued they were after they signed those enormous deals, you never saw another giant deal ever again outside of Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry. The rest of them were decent deals. They weren't great deals. Shit, the guy in Carolina that was just an Eagle may got the best. You know what? Think about it. Miles Sanders may have got the hijack steal contract of the offseason. The Eagles told him at the beginning, they did him a favor by dealing with him early, right after the year, and telling him, we're not re-signing you. Panthers pick, I'll guarantee you, man, that's buyer's remorse in Carolina. That's buyer's remorse. Okay? Buyers, hey, if I'm the Cowboys, I may look at Dalvin Cook. Looks like the Patriots are now the front runner to get that guy. Tell you this, Patriots get Dalvin Cook. That's an interesting ball game for the Eagles in the opener with a team that's still got to prove to me they can stop the run. You put Dalvin Cook with that other 1,000-yard back they got in New England. They had a back last year gain $1,000, and I didn't know it. You put Cook and him together, that's an interesting ball game in the opener. Do the Eagles win? Yeah, but you're not going in there, and that's not an easy ball game again, especially in the opener. Okay? That would be interesting. I'm still thinking Jets, though, for Dalvin Cook. I'm still thinking Jets. But these running backs are still, now get this. So think about this too, everyone. So Austin Eckler wants the owners and demands the owners answer for the pay scale of running backs. And you got Barkley telling the Giants to go F themselves. These guys don't know who they are yet. They're going through an identity crisis right now. Look, I'm telling you, the coaches value these players. The coaches will never not value a talented player at any position. But that's not how front offices see it anymore. You're expendable. And it's up to the coaches to get the maximum out of those players at running back while they have those guys, because organizations are going to move on from them dudes. They're not an essential piece to win a Super Bowl anymore. Why should owners pay it? Some go like this. Well, the Giants need him. The Giants are not going to win a Super Bowl with him and Daniel Jones as your dynamic duo. You really think the New York Giants are going to win or be in an NFC championship game? Say everything goes perfect. Get this. Say everything goes perfect. The Eagles have massive injuries. Do you really see the New York Giants in the NFC title game with everything going great for New York? No. No. Ever. Those two guys are not going to put a Lombardi trophy in the Giants Hall of Fame. They're not. So, again, shit management. I hear people still talking about the Sixers. Holy shit. I'm so glad to hear Tone talking about the Sixers. I thought his takes were fantastic with the sports take guys. Why'd you fire Doc Rivers again? I missed it. Why'd you fire Doc? I mean, was he the scapegoat? He had to be fired because someone did? Someone had to take, accountability for the 15 years of bullshit you've been feeding the Sixer fans? Jesus criminy. How many days? I heard that interview on 97.5 with Daryl Morey, and I went like this. I don't know how people tolerate that or can swallow that. It's like taking an enema when you're talking Sixers. I mean it, man. Dude, get this. I would rather have a year of shitty basketball with a future than what you have now with the current future. Wouldn't you? I'll take a shitty year of hoop. Getting draft picks. Getting rid of everything. Starting over. At least I know I could see a tangible plan. Because with the people, dude, you got a guy on the back nine and James Harden. That's your chip when it comes to rebuilding your team. That's your chip. A dude on the back nine. He doesn't do anything for your future. He doesn't really do anything for your present. That there is what frustrates me about organizations. Dude, it took the Eagles 2 years to get off Wentz. You know how hard that is to get off a contract like that has so many guaranteed years and dead money? Do you know the balls you have to take to go to your owner and say, we got $33 million of dead money on our cap, but we got to eat this? I thought that decision was yours when it came to getting Wentz. It was. He had to hit on Hurts. Hurts has to make it. Because you know why? There's still a $33 million note out there that he cashed on Jeffrey Lurie's bank account, that he got nothing in return. First rounders, I get it. I'm talking, dude, I don't want the first rounders. I want a franchise quarterback. First rounders, like penny stocks. It's like penny stocks. I want players, not draft picks. Because it's called prospect night. It's like watching prospect night with Velcro on the back of the jerseys, with different names. You just keep ripping them off, and they keep pushing prospects. That's a terrible thing to do to fan bases. Hey, believe in us. Bro, you've lost that. Eagles have that. Okay? They totally have that. It's shocking when you see the differences in organizations and how they do business. The Giants are not well run right. Hey, the Giants are not well run right now. You miss on the $18 million contract extension. Okay? You miss on that contract extension for Jones. You pay him $46.1 million bucks. You turn around and do that, and now you've had a whole year to deal with Barkley. You can't get nothing done with him, or you can't convince him. By the way, people keep throwing it's $2 million. Folks, it's not $2 million. It's the years and the money and the guarantee. That's what it is. It's the years. They don't want to be committed to Barkley for 3 years. You really think the New York Giants or an NFL football team is bitching over $2 million? A team in New York who's got endless money and prints their own money. You think $2 million stopped this deal? Well, then you're dumb. This comes down to commitment. This comes down to belief whether or not you think that guy is an integral part of you winning a Super Bowl. And obviously the answer to the Giants is no. They're not wrong. When it comes to fundamentally building a team, I'm not building it with a guy who breaks down. He breaks down. Every year in the last 4, he's been injured. Can't build a team around a running back. Hey, by the way, for the record, I don't want to build a football team around a running back in today's NFL. Because that means I'm still in the archaic ages, and I'm not taking advantage of today's league. Rules are not changed for the running game. Rules have been changed for the wide receiver. That's why he's no longer just a Christmas ball on the tree. He's part of the ingredient for the cake. They have changed that position in importance just the way the competition committee wanted it. Can't mug the guy running down the field. You can still take out a running back any way you want. What rule has been changed for him? They're phasing them out. There's almost no fullbacks in the game. Okay? I mean, these running backs, I demand that Spanos talks to us and gives us an explanation why the position. Dude, he'll tell you to go sit in the corner, be thankful you're on the roster, and shut up. Or you'll beat Joe Mixon and take a pay cut. And I'll get another nobody in here, like the Eagles are doing it. Dude, end of the day, the Eagles, how about this? Let me put it to you this way. The Philadelphia Eagles are the gold standard on how teams are going to have running back rooms. By the way, you didn't win a Super Bowl with a feature back either. You won it with a collection of dudes. Adai and LeGarrette Blount. Those were your dudes. Those were the guys that gained you the yards. Okay? Kept that. And guess what? Your offensive line. What was the common denominator between that team and this 2022 team and this 23 team? You know what the common denominators are? You invested in both lines. I'm convinced of this. If you have the 2 best, or you're in the top 5, best O-line, best D-line combo, you're going to be in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you something, if you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, they got to figure out what they're going to do with Chris Jones because he may hold out. But you cannot not have him. And they're getting pretty good with their edge rushers. The kid they got from Purdue a year ago, they're investing assets in their front 7 because they know how important that is. And I'll tell you what, it's an underrated O-line. It's an underrated O-line. The Eagles spend all their money. Hey, think about this. Let's see, wide receiver group. That's not really an expensive group outside of A.J. Brown. You're not spending a ton of money. That'll change when Devontae's off his rookie deal. But right now, you're not spending a ton of money over there. As a matter of fact, A.J. really carries the room. $25 million, and the rest of the guys are making $1 million. It's a very underpaid room. Your corners now make some money. They make $30 million. Your offensive line is the richest dudes in the room. Your center makes 15. Your tackles make 20 and 15. Big money, man. And your left guard makes money. That's where the Eagles spend all their dough and their quarterback. Okay? And look at what they've done with their defensive tackle position. You see, they used my Bijan Robinson philosophy, guys, Tone, on Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. They got rid of Javon Hargrave because they didn't want to pay the $20 million. And they got two guys on rookie deals that kind of are equivalent to the money. And they pay Fletcher. In theory, they got 3 for 1. They kept, 2 for 1, really, with the same price. All you did, you moved money around. You moved Hargrave, who wanted 20, right? You gave 10 to Fletcher, and the other money, the other 10, is in the 2 rookies. They just moved money around, and with a higher ceiling, potentially. I'm not saying it was a bad move. It's a smart move. Look at the way they do business. Look at how they look. That's a great move. You financially helped yourself. You may have upgraded. You got a steal in the draft. You got 2 tackles you invested in. They're on rookie deals. You got a guy who had 7 sacks a year ago in Fletcher. I don't know. And you moved a guy who I think is suspect in the run game himself. That's smart business. And what's his name, Slay? Cost himself $3.5 million because he started tweeting. Every tweet he put out cost him $1 million. And it was to the benefit of the Eagles. Restructured his deal. It's really a 1-year deal. Took a $3.5 million pay cut. Gave it to Bradbury. They are on top of their game. That's why we're going to talk about their front office. They are on top of their game. Okay? Micah says that Carter could be better than Hargrave. He better be. I think this guy's got a chance to be better than Quentin Williams. Absolutely. Dude, the noise level around the league right now is at a fever pitch. It's at a fever pitch. By the way, I'm not thrilled to death about watching guys in helmets and shorts, but you know what I do love? I love the fact that it signals football's here. That's what I love about it. The NFL season, do you not understand, starts today. The Jets showed up to training camp. Training camp today. Jets. I saw the guys walking into the facility. Awesome. It's the start of football. Here we are. Here we are. Fantastic stuff, man. Fantastic stuff. By the way, before I get into the Giants and the Eagle front office, can I ask you guys something here? Now, some sports books gave me some numbers on over-under. And they just came out. My friend Jimmy Shapiro just sent this to me. Let me give you a little bit of the odds when it comes to Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, and Josh Allen. So I want you to listen to the numbers. Josh Allen, over under 4,300 yards. I'm going to say over. Josh Allen, over under 32 touchdowns. I'm going to say over. Interceptions, 13 and a half. over under. I'm going to say over. I think he's around 15. Here's Dak. Passing yards, 4,050 and a half, over under. I'm going to take the over. Passing touchdowns, 26 and a half. Over under. I think that number is about right. So I think he'll throw 27. I'll say over. 11 and a half picks for Dak. I'm going to say under. I think he's going to throw less this year. So 4,050 and a half for Dak. 4,300 for Josh Allen and 32 touchdowns over under. 26 for Prescott over under. Now here's Jalen. Oh my God. This is what the people in Atlantic City and Vegas think. The over under on passing yards for Jalen Hurts is 3,650 yards and a half. Shit, he better not be under. The guys in Vegas are saying 3,650 yards and a half. 3,650 and a half. Over under. This is not me. My boy Shapiro sent this to me. I'm like, so wait a minute. He's the only guy. I think Daniel Jones is at 30. I think he's at 35 or something. I think he's lower. Jones may be at 38. Passing touchdowns. This is Atlantic City and Vegas. Over under Jalen Hurts. 21 and a half. Jesus. So Jalen Hurts, Vegas thinks that Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 3,650 yards and 21 touchdowns. And 8 picks. That's the over-under, 8. I'd probably say he's under. So Vegas thinks this is what he's going to turn in this year. 3,650 yards and 21 touchdowns. Holy, I don't really think they respect you that much. That's like Tyrod Taylor numbers. Holy cow. They got Prescott at 4,000, almost 4,100 yards. Holy cow. I'm going to look up the Daniel Jones. I'm going to look up the Daniel Jones one. I got to find out. Daniel Jones is projected by Vegas and Atlantic City to throw for more yards than Jalen Hurts this year. Vegas thinks Jalen's not going to throw for more than 3,700 yards. Holy cow. Oh, man. Did I delete that? Dang it. I sure hope not. We'll see. I got Hurts making 4,000 yards and 50. Dude, never happened. Never happened. That guy will never throw for 4,000 yards. Hey, that's a great bet. Who do you think has a better passing season, Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts? I'll take Dak. I'll take Dak. We'll have a better passing season because he always has. Now, wait a minute. Look at Weapon. Weapon with the great retort. Weapon with the right retort. If it gets us to the Super Bowl, I'll take it. That's the perfect retort. Yes, sir. Dak's stats haven't done shit for them. And he's had great stats for the last 7 years. Does it matter? No. It doesn't matter. That still shows you, though, again. So, like I showed Tone and all you guys. So the NFL disrespects Jalen Hurts with the best 25 and under player. And now Vegas and Atlantic City are telling you this guy's not going to throw for more than 3,700 yards this year and 21 touchdowns. That's what they're saying. They're setting the line on those numbers. They think Jalen's going to throw for 21 touchdowns, maybe a tick above, and 3,650 and a half. They threw the half in. What's that, 1 yard? Okay. That's not a lot of respect. They don't think he's an elite passer. Vegas does not. Hey, Vegas and Atlantic City is telling you they don't think he's an elite passer. Daniel Jones is at 3,800 passing yards. Vegas thinks he's going to have a better season, Daniel Jones, than Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying this. I don't believe it. I do not believe that. I do not believe that. I do not. So don't tie me into that stuff. I do not believe that. Hey, Philly Godfather thinks he's going to have a better year. He does that for a living. Okay, so, all right. Let's get into the Giants have dominated the news this week, obviously because of Saquon Barkley. Give me your assessment. This is your Week 16 opponent. Tell me your takeaway on the New York Giants 2023. How do you see this team? Better or worse than what you saw in 2022 as they go into training camp? How do you see this team? And by the way, the Barkley conversation does dictate a little bit on this football team, okay? So how do you see the Giants right now before I give you my preview on them? This is your Week 16 opponent. Giants are going 9-8. Wells says they're about the same as the 2022 team. Hey, Greg, that's probably true. Totally don't respect your team and what they've done for the last 24 years. It's really crazy. Giants are going to be mediocre. Remember something, though, guys. Remember something. Jeremiah, remember, you're talking the NFC. If the Giants are in the AFC, we're talking about a 5-win team. But you're in the NFC. You can win games in that conference. There's not a lot of good football teams. It's top-heavy. And watch this. There's 3 teams, and then it's the rest of them. And that means anybody. And then the war of attrition, the roster, your depth of your roster. I think you're going to see some surprise teams, especially on that side of the aisle. Okay? Because there's just not a lot of good teams. There's a lot of mediocre football teams in the NFC. All right? 6-11. Line is lacking without Saquon. They are much worse. Okay, let me give you my takeaway on the New York Giants, your Week 15 opponent. Obviously, the news this week on Barkley and the contract extension plays a lot into the personnel that's on the football team now. They were definitely one of the biggest surprises in 2022. And without Barkley, it is a blow to that offensive huddle for the Giants. And it plays right into the ability for the Eagles to just keep treading water what they're doing. They don't have to do anything spectacular. You know what's funny? The Philadelphia Eagles really don't have to do anything spectacular because all these other teams are disintegrating around them. If you just stay pat and you're watching teams implode before the season starts. Eagles sweep 85, we'll tell you that at the end. Made their first postseason since 2016 this past season. In the offseason, here were the decisions. Daniel Jones, 4 years, 160. They tagged Barkley. They signed a broken-down tight end at $17.5 a year. They upgraded a little bit in defense. They lost their center. Darren Waller, I think they gave up a 3rd-round pick in the 23 draft for him. But here, let me throw this at you. Here are the names of the Giant wide receivers. Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah Hodgins. Who are these guys? Who are those dudes? That's like the Eagle practice squad. Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah Hodgins. Who are these guys? You're going to go into the 2023 season, even if you had Barkley, with those guys as your wideouts? What were you doing? I mean, did you help your quarterback in any way? Darren Waller, in the third round you gave the Raiders. That's probably what his value is, especially since he hasn't played the last 3 years. I don't get it. On defense, Dexter Lawrence, outstanding nose guard, interior guy. They're good in the middle. Leonard Williams is a good ball player. Kayvon Thibodeau could be a great edge. They ranked 15th last year. With those players being, like I said, hey, get this. So Dexter Lawrence made the Pro Bowl. And if I'm not mistaken, right, Tony was an all-pro. And they were one of the shittiest run teams in the league. How'd that work? How could you be one of the shittiest run defensive football teams and your nose guard made the Pro Bowl and he's the all-pro? Wow. Okay, must be cool to play in New York because Hargrave's better. Hargrave turned a better season into Dexter Lawrence. The Giant defense sucked against the run. He's your all-pro? Okay. Okay. Yeah, and 85 goes, the Giants drafted Jalen Hyatt. Okay, well, I hope he's good. As far as I'm concerned, he's meat. Jalen Hyatt? Okay, all right. I don't know. So now you lose Barkley. I don't see it. Where's the talent? Where's the talent on the Giants and the coaching staff? Okay, I guess. I think last year was a fluke. I think Brian Dable called a lot of people off guard, and I think that's the best you're going to see. Here, I'm going to make the prediction. What you saw Daniel Jones last year, in my opinion, I think that's the best you're going to see. I don't think you're going to – with that talent around him, if that guy wins 10 ball games with Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah Hodgins, if they win 10, 11 games, Brian Dable's the NFL Coach of the Year, and Daniel Jones wins the MVP. Okay? I mean, again, I don't – Daniel Jones – I might be so wrong, and Daniel Jones turns into Steve Young. He turns into Steve Young, and he's the best player we've ever seen. And he makes this gigantic leap. We've seen guys make Jalen Hurts leaps too. You know, I mean, Mahomes, he burst onto the scene, same way Marino burst onto the scene. I don't see it, though. I don't believe in the Giants. Can I tell you what the Giants are to me, the New York Giants? They're like the Mets believing in that 100-win regular season of a year ago. They bought into the hype. And then they realized who they were this year. Everybody played great a year ago, but when it mattered, they flopped. I look at the Giants and the Mets, and I think they're the same team. They're the same team. They had a really miracle year last year because the division played. Remember last year, you guys? Last year, everybody in the NFC East played like the 32nd, the 30th easiest schedule in the league. Well, now you got to play better teams. You're going to get killed. That team playing the same type of schedule that the Eagles play will win 6 ball games. At best. At best. The Giants are a one-year wonder. They were a fluke. I don't think they're good. Shit, I think the Eagles could have beat them with their scout team. Those games were never competitive. Never. I mean, the Giant game with Cooper Rush was competitive into the fourth quarter. The Washington Commander games, the first one wasn't, the second one was competitive. The Giants never played a competitive. Would this be fair? That the Giants never played a competitive quarter in 8 quarters of football last year? Would that be fair? I mean, would that be fair? They didn't play 1 quarter of football where you went like this. Man, that's a good team. I'm not talking about playing against Minnesota. I'm talking against the Eagles. They stepped on the field and they won. The only thing that was competitive in that game was the coin toss. I don't see it. I really do not see it. I do not see how that football team is going to win games like they did a year ago. How many one-score games did they win and close games last year? That's like relying on the turnover margin as a stat that you can build your team to. That shit's luck, tip, footballs, what have you. You're out of your mind if you're going to put that in as a stat. We're going to win a lot of close games this year. No, you're not. Because you're playing better teams. Dude, that's not a good team. This is not a good roster. And like I said, Dexter Lawrence was the nose guard all-pro, and you were on one of the shittiest run defenses in the league a year ago. I don't know. Hey, that Giant defense compared to the Eagle defense, even with all the missing bodies, night and day. Night and day. Giants don't have a defense. Their corners are marginal. Look. Let's add another mistake the Giants have made in the last 3 years. You didn't get Jones on the extension. You've lost Barkley. You let James Bradbury walk through the door. You sign a broken down tight end. And you tell me that you're in a better position today because you got Brian Daboll as your coach. Really? I don't see that. I mean, yeah, but, Tone goes like this. Tone goes, yeah, hey, Sills, there's certain organizations that don't get it. But the Giants traditionally did get it. Since this, I'm telling you, since they changed management, and I'm going to tell you, Tom Coughlin was more important in that organization than people think. Because since Tom Coughlin has not been in that building, that football team has been a train wreck. You went to Dave Gettleman, you went to all these guys that just never made any sense at coach. The general manager's moves. See, I think you got too many people in the building there influencing the general manager and coach because you don't have any clarity in that building right now. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with clarity here in a minute here with the Eagles. Okay? I did some homework on their front office people. And I've done some work on, who's in the building and the people that make decisions when it comes to evaluating personnel. And I've talked to some people about some of your guys. And I've got some feedback on them, especially organizationally, on how they do business. The owner's a great – I'll tell you this, one thing about Jeffrey Lurie, he knows how to hire. He's got a formula on hiring business, motion pictures, and football. And there's got to be a common denominator in there. And it's got to be that he empowers people. And he has no fear. He has no fear of paying a quarterback up front. He has no fear of giving people autonomy. And he has no fear of giving somebody a second chance. Howie has learned the greatest thing that Jeffrey Lurie has done has developed Howie Roseman into being the premier general manager in the league. Do you understand that? That owner has developed the best decision maker in the league right now, and it's paying off for him. Okay? Think about that. When someone goes, what's Jeffrey Lurie's biggest accomplishment? Having a guy who was instrumental in building me a Super Bowl and building me a roster year in and year out and being financially responsible, economical, and not afraid. Let's be candid here. With all the moves and money that they do, how about this? They go cheap on running back and they go cheap on linebacker. They don't go cheap on quarterback. Even with Carson Wentz, they don't go cheap on quarterback. They'll take the dead money. But they're not going to pay $20 million for a safety like Jamal Adams. They're not going to do that. They have a formula in the building on how they operate. The greatest accomplishment, football-wise, besides putting that trophy on Broad Street, is the development of Howie Roseman as general manager of the Eagles. He's better than Joe Banner. He's been better at personnel decisions and coaching decisions. If you look at all of his chapters, the book is yet to be finished. Okay? The book is yet to be finished. It's funny, man. It's a drama. How he starts out as a capologist guy back in the early 2000s, makes his way through the corridor, gets into personnel decisions, gets into financing, becomes senior executive of football operations, gets put in a closet again. There's a couple low points in the book. All of a sudden, he skyrocketed. It's quite a drama. It's quite a drama. I want to get into this now. So the Giants, let me close this up with them. I don't see it. I just don't see it. All right. Let's go here. Watching the Eagles versus Giants was like watching Mike Tyson fight. Right. Against Peter McNeely. Absolutely weapon. Dude, when they flipped the coin, the game was over. Seriously. They flipped the coin, the game was over. Game was over. It's never close. I'll do that tomorrow, 85. Okay? Promise. You've been asking me, I'll do it. All right. Let me ask you about your front office. Is this the best front office the Philadelphia Eagles? And by the way, you're coming off. You know what's crazy? And I hate to put this pain back on Tone again. You're coming off of being bounced in the opening round of the NBA playoffs, and you hate everything about that franchise. You lost the biggest sporting event in the world, in our world, next to the World Cup in the Super Bowl. And yet you're more optimistic. Look at how you feel towards both those teams. Your stomach turns when you talk Sixers. When you talk Eagles, you're optimistic. You're coming off a heart-wrenching Super Bowl defeat. You have the same emotions that you have when you won the damn thing. It's just the polar opposite. The same emotion you feel for that loss you had for your win. I'll make this point to you. Is this a true statement? The loss hurts more than the victory on 17 when we won. I have more emotion towards that loss than I did towards when we won the Super Bowl in 17. Think about that. Tone said absolutely. You feel more about that loss than even the greatest moment in Philadelphia sports history. Last year, that will go down in infamy. Right? Funny, isn't it? Those losses always last longer than the wins. It's that way with athletes. Okay. Is this the best front office you've ever had? Is this the best you've ever seen? How about this? Is this the best you've ever seen the Eagles run? It's a shadow that follows me absolutely every day. Tone can't get over it. Yeah, because you know why? You're so damn close. Is this the best you've ever seen the Eagles run? Whatever lifetime you've had. Yes. Okay, everyone's very optimistic about where the organization is right now. I'm with you. Let me be fair to you and to other organizations that are run like yours. KC, Seattle, Pittsburgh. You know who's starting to turning it around? The Jets. And you know my take on the Jets. Okay? You're starting to see better. Joe Douglas is doing one fabulous job. Isn't it funny? Veach, Eagle, Douglas, Eagle. Honey, that's amazing to hunt all those names down like that, and they all got ties back to Philly. I can respect the process if there's a consistency. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt the Jets are turning this thing around because the tutelage he had under Howie and the organization itself. Fantastic. Fantastic. There's very few organizations in the NFL that are run so well right now. And I'm going to start with the Eagles, and I'm going to tell you, here's my takeaway. And I did some homework into all your guys on why the roster looks the way it does now. Because as I've said to you, you guys have missed on numerous corners. You've missed on scores of edge rushers. You've missed on linebackers out the rear end. You've missed on the running back position. Theoretically, you've missed out on the quarterback position all but maybe twice. And this has been over 25 years. And now, all of a sudden, there's a new look to that roster. Over the last 5 years, there's been a transformation of that roster on how the Eagles draft today than prior to those 5 years. I never thought Howie was a good drafter. I never thought he was a good evaluator of talent. Something changed in the room, and I think it had a lot to do with Chip. Chip, ignoring Howie's takes and his opinions, made him absolutely, he must have really did his due diligence. I'll tell you something else. What was the name of the general manager of the San Antonio Spurs? Because Howie, about 5 or 6 years ago, said that he went to Europe with him when, I didn't realize this, when Chip was running the team and his voice was really silenced in the organization. Was it Buford? The guy that ran the San Antonio Spurs? He and him went on like a European vacation kind of deal. And he said that he had learned so much from R.C. Buford. And he learned so much on how to run an organization, how to talk to people, how to trust his scouts. And he learned all this listening to a guy who constructed arguably one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Okay? Seriously, the San Antonio dynasty, R.C. Buford was the guy that ran that whole thing. And Howie said, I heard it on a podcast and I listened to it. You know what? It may have been Chris Long's. That's where I heard it. It was on Chris Long's. And I heard him talking about how he spent the whole summer with R.C. Buford. And they would just talk building a franchise and building a team, talking about people and developing from within. And he said that taking away from what he learned from him, that's so great. When you can listen to a different perspective on how he built his team versus how others built. Remember something. What did R.C. Buford do? And what was he one of the very first guys to do? He was one of the very first guys to invest in the European players. That dynasty in San Antonio was not built with American players. It was built with foreign players. Duncan, Ginobili, and Tony Parker. All those guys. Those guys were foreign players. They were really the first to bring them in as a collective group and build a team around them. They won 5 titles doing it over a span of like 18 years. It's pretty remarkable. And so I'm going to start with Howie Roseman. Been in the organization since 2000. In various, here's what's important about this. Howie Roseman has been in the organization since 2000 with various roles. What does that tell you? That means he knows everyone's role in the building. It's like a quarterback knowing what defensive guys are doing and knowing all their techniques and knowing everything on what everyone does in the organization and what their value is to the organization. Knowing full well everyone's value, there's a value in everyone, from people taking the garbage out to people that are putting down draft boards. Everyone's got a role in a building, and you define your role by how you do your job. So that means him having all those various jobs in that organization, there's no coincidence why he understands the people that he has in his office now better than what he did before. Because maybe the first time around, he didn't value all that. He surely values it now since the Chip Kelly disaster. Okay? So let me put it here. He gets credit as the architect for the two. Is that fair? He gets credit for the architect for 2017 Super Bowl. Is he the architect of that? That 17 Super Bowl? I think that might be a little generous. I think he was a major part of it. But personally, did he have more input into the football team than what Chip did? Chip brought Stoutland in. Chip drafted Lane Johnson. Chip brought guys into the football program. If I'm not mistaken, I think he brought Brandon Graham in. So, I mean, how much does he get for building that 17 team? Remember, he made the mistake on Wentz, albeit they won the Super Bowl. Okay? How much credit does hey, before I move on, how much credit does Howie get for that 17 Super Bowl in your opinion? And don't let today, what's going on now, cloud your judgment. How much credit should he get for that 17 Super Bowl? Okay? How much credit does he get? I thought Brandon Graham was drafted by Andy. Fletcher and Kelsey. How much credit does he get? I think it was a collective group. Do we agree Howie didn't have the power he has now, right? In 17. Omar says 45%, almost half. I think that's a good number. I think that's a good number because, like Michael says, Doug Peterson's got it, and his coaching staff have to get the majority of it. That coaching staff has to get the majority of the credit for winning the Super Bowl because there were injuries all over the place. And it was Howie's guys, but those guys coached him up to win. Nobody ever lost doubt. Okay? Interesting. Because, again, nobody wants to rewrite history. We want to make sure people get their justice in history, not rewrite it. Chip tried to build the house but couldn't figure out. So he left his tools at the job site. Howie came in, picked up the same tools, revised the blueprint, installed different parts, and ultimately got the job done. Correct. And know this, okay? He had to be involved in the Doug Peterson hiring along with the owner. So there's got to be some agreement in being able to work with each other, and Howie had to have some involvement in the hiring of Doug. They were right. Because at the end of the day, it resulted in a Super Bowl and a couple NFC division or a couple NFC East titles, a conference title. So arguably it was the most successful era of football. It didn't end well, but it was a very successful era of football when it came to Doug Peterson and the decision-making that those guys all made there. So when it comes to being an architect, he's definitely part of building that 17 team and the current culture that you're seeing now. I'm just trying to be fair here with Howie, because sometimes you look at it now and everyone wants to blow up one's resume here a little bit. And you got to be fair to everyone else that was in the building with him. You know, just because Doug's not in the building any longer doesn't mean you exclude him from the conversation. Also remember, Chip wasn't a terrible talent evaluator, just a terrible leader and human. Correct. Well, I don't know about being a terrible human. He's a college coach. College coaches don't have to get close to you. They usually don't, because they've got 100 kids. College football coaches don't get too close to you. There's 100 guys and usually 10 deep at your position. How's he going to get close to you? Now, if you're a superstar player, you're going to have more of an affection towards those guys because you separate yourself. Like Will Anderson and the 10th guy on the roster at Alabama is not getting the same attention. That's a fact. However, if you're from 2 to 10, you think you're getting the attention of Nick Saban at Alabama? Come on, man. You got to work yourself into that. Okay? Yeah. Can't stand Chip. I get it, man. College coaches, they lie to you. Remember something. Here's the difference between a pro coach and a college coach. You got to be honest with your players as an NFL coach. You could be a bullshit artist as a college coach, because 99% of the time you are a bullshit artist. You're lying to players every day. NFL, if you're paying them, you got to play them, which means you can't bullshit them. They're hard to bullshit. They're men. Pat on the backs in the NFL don't work. You see, you can pat a guy on the head and rub his fanny in college and tell him how great he is, because the means to the end is him winning games and helping you win games, which makes you make more money. That's how it is. College football, at the end of the day, 99% of them lie to you. And what I mean by lie to you, they pretend they're your friend. You think Nick Saban was really Jalen Hurts' friend when he fired him? You think he was his friend when he took the job away from him and gave it to someone else? You think that's a friend? It's like your wife leaving you and say, hey, you can live in the garage. I mean, you think that was good by Nick? Nick will tell you now, we're boys. And yeah, it's because Jalen is a leader and he doesn't want any bullshit. Okay? Okay? He also said, Gabe, Shady and D-Jacks, so what? Who cares? They brought you nothing. JM, it's funny. All you guys are so pissed off on how Chip handled D-Jacks and Shady and who's the other guy? He was right to get rid of him. Not in the manner he did, but to what Tone said. He's just not a good dude. Well, he wasn't going to have good relationships with those guys. 2 years later, you won a Super Bowl. You didn't need him. You didn't need him. You didn't need him to win a Super Bowl. That's the facts. Toys goes like this. He ruined your program. 2 years later, he won a Super Bowl with some of the pieces and the greatest assistant coach you've ever had. That's rich. That's rich. Shady McCoy and D-Jacks meant nothing to your Super Bowl team. Nothing. You didn't win anything with them. What made you think you were going to win with them? Well, if we would have kept, you don't know that. All I know is they weren't on the team. Think he evaluated Lane? You think he evaluated Stoutland? He is exactly what Tone said. He's just not a people guy. That's why he's a college coach. You don't have to be a people guy to be a college coach. You have to be a professional car salesman or like an auctioneer guy. You don't have to be a great coach. That's why Nick couldn't cut it. The majority of those coaches can't cut it because you got to tell the players the truth. That's what happened with the guy from Florida, Steve Spurrier. Spurrier realized in Washington he had to tell the truth. But when he started telling the truth, the players didn't want to hear it. They didn't know how to massage it. Weapon. Chip Kelly helped us win a Super Bowl by leaving his playbook for Doug Peterson. I don't know about the playbook, but I know that the people that he left in the building were the foundation. Hey, Weapon, I think it's more this because that 85 play offense was not going to be something that they could work with because the reason you bring Frank in is to boutique a new offense. But the foundation of players that they left behind was the foundation of the 17 Super Bowl. That's a fact. Chip left the foundation for the Super Bowl. Eagle fans do not want to hear that. Okay? And probably because it affects Howie. That's why you do as much as you can to talk as much shit on you can on Chip Kelly, because it builds up Howie Roseman's resume more, which in fact it's not true. The pieces that Chip left behind was the foundation for the 2017 Super Bowl. That's a fact. You can call the organization highly unfunctional. Locker room hated everybody. It was a volatile locker room. Players were divided. All true. That's not what I'm talking about. He's not an NFL head coach. Are you not listening? Okay. 14 playoff wins since 2000. It's the fourth most in the NFL, which is fabulous. And the 14 playoff wins equals the entire NFC East combined. Executive of the Year multiple times. I personally think one of the great achievements by Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, I personally think that he has, without a doubt, he has developed Howie Roseman into the best general manager, or at least one of the top 3 general managers in the National Football League. Hey, Tone, should I take a time out here and reset this? Because I want to get into the front office here. Let's do that. We're going to do that. I'll reset here a little bit. We've been looking at Eagle position rooms. We're looking at your front office now on why it's so successful, especially when you look at the entire NFC East now. Hit the like button. Hour 2, don't forget Merrill Reese, 5:30 Eastern. Keep it here on the National Football.